Yet another fantastic weekend to be a fan of the NC State Wolfpack. Andrew Slater is official. The first high school recruit of the Will Wade era is also official. Life like this sure is sweet, ain't it?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday show is brought to you by TurboTax. Are you ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? If you are, head on over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your tax expert. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, what a weekend. We went into the weekend kind of wondering when the next basketball recruit would be landed for Will Wade. Did not take long at all. First, Quadir Copeland committed officially to NC State on Friday. We spoke a little bit about him last week, what he could bring to the table to the team. How big of a deal is that to you, Kenton?
I think it's a very big deal because, they say that the team embodies the coach. I don't think that there's any player that embodies what Will Wade does and who he is more than Quadir Copeland. A guy that wants to get downhill, no frills, a guy that wants to get up in your grill defensively, a guy that's aggressive, a guy that he's going to talk his talk, but because he can back it up a lot, like a certain head coach who said, hey, the goal for this year is to be top 4 seeded, getting double buys in the ACC tournament and getting into the NCAA tournament. You want a guard, or you want players in general that match that kind of sentiment, that match that kind of behavior. And Quadir Copeland definitely fits that description.
We had a comment in our comment section talking about how important it is for Will Wade in year one. If he wants to establish his own sort of culture, you have 2 players that are following him from McNeese. And that's a really important and I think underrated piece of this puzzle. Quadir Copeland, to Kenton's point, he really reflects that swag and that attitude and that edge that Will Wade has, but he also has experience in Will Wade's system and he knows what he's looking for out of the rest of his players. And that stuff matters when you're trying to turn around a team and get everybody on the same page as quickly as possible. So I do think Quadir Copeland is a very good get for NC State. He's a little bit of everything all at once, and that can be at times chaotic. But I think NC State fans are really going to warm up quickly to Quadir Copeland in the red and white. Now, one of the other biggest pieces of the weekend, Matthew Abel committed to NC State basketball. He is the first high school commitment of the Will Wade era. He is a 4-star or a 5-star, depending on what kind of service you use. Again, I typically like to use 247 Sports. Just I personally find it to be the most accurate. Kenton, Matthew Abel is the 4th highest recruit ever in NC State basketball history, according to 247 Sports. Ever. We're talking Dennis Smith is number 1, CJ Leslie 2, Rodney Purvis 3, Matthew Abel is 4, and then TJ Warren. TJ Warren was an ACC Player of the Year, and he was not as highly regarded as Matthew Abel is. This is a big-time land. I mean, Will Wade's been with us for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? And he's landing 4 or 5-star kids immediately off the bat. When he talks about a reckoning, you better listen up. He's not mincing words.
What a shock. What a surprise. The guy who said, I want to go get at least one showstopper every year goes out and gets the 4th highest recruit in NC State history. Ladies and gentlemen, consider the show stopped, paused, delayed, if you will. But in all seriousness, this is what we expected. This is what we expected. And even here's the thing that I think is insane about Will Wade, right? He has set the expectations so high in Raleigh. I don't think there's anything that he could do that would surprise NC State fans in a positive way. I really don't. To hear him say, I want one showstopper every year, and for him to land his first one within a month of being on campus. I mean, the ink ain't even dry on the contract yet. They do DocuSign now, just letting you know. So there's no physical ink on contract.
Electronically dries.
But you know what I'm saying? This is what we were expecting. And I'm going to tell you something. Grayson, you and I have talked off air many a time about football and what they need, and specifically edge rusher was something that came up with me and you multiple times. They landed 2 huge edge rushers out of the portal. And yet, this recruit, this young man, Mr. Abel, is so dominant. He is expected to be such a force here in Raleigh for the next couple of years that people are like, we're not really worried about anything else going on right now. We're not really focused on anything other than all steam ahead on the Will Wade and Slater train, which is, I mean, that locomotive is coming downhill and picking up recruits at very high speeds.
This is a top 30 recruit in the country, a top 30 high school player in the country. Will Wade strolls into Raleigh, says, yeah, I'll take this one right off the bat. When he talks about a reckoning, this is the reckoning to be reckoned with. He comes and he's delivering on promises in 2 to 3 weeks' time. These are the types of things we're going to come to expect with him because he always delivers. When he gets to the mic and he says, I want to do this in year 1, and then he does it, it's like, well, what's out of reach for Will Wade then? If he goes to McNeese, a school that's never really had any success ever, like ever, and he says, we're going to go to the NCAA tournament both years that I'm here, we're going to flip the losses. We had 24 losses this year. We're going to have 24 wins next year. Goes and does it. Matthew Abel is just basically the tip of the iceberg here. If you're ready for more, you're going to get more. When Will Wade really gets his hands and feet dirty in the high school ranks, he's going to continually pull in these 4- and 5-star kids on a regular basis. And we talked about how that was a big detracting factor from the Keats era is you could get the big name kids interested, but you couldn't get them on campus. Will Wade's going to get them on campus, and they're going to play, and they're going to compete at a high level, and NC State's going to win ball games because of that. So Matthew Abel, a top 30 player in the country. He's a 6'5" shooting guard from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Previously committed to Miami, but decommitted with Jim Larinaga moving on from the program. Miami kind of unraveled from there. There were other big-name schools in his recruitment. We're talking Texas. We're talking Baylor. We're talking Alabama. At NC State, Will Wade, just 2 weeks on the job, comes in, swoops him, takes him to the Flying Biscuit, which maybe that's the secret sauce. You take somebody to the Flying Biscuit, you know what type of time they're on. This is a really big deal. The first high school commit of the Will Wade era is a fringe 5-star player, top 4 recruit of NC State history. Imagine what he can do a month on the job or 2 months on the job, 3 years on the job. Matthew Abel is just a moment in time. Will Wade is going to have a whole bag full of 5-star commitments during his time here in Raleigh. This is a really, really exciting get.
I will say this, and I'm going to leave this right here. If Will Wade stays here for 5 years plus, the things that he does at NC State will, I think, will revolutionize the way that people look at not only NC State basketball, but NC State sports in general. I very genuinely believe that. And I know some people are saying that's too much for one recruit of a kid that was already decommitting from a place because his hometown schools, in terms of Florida State and Miami, who he originally committed to, are both going through coaching changes. Well, last time I checked, Florida's playing in the national championship. I mean, if he, if he just wanted to stay home that badly, or if he just could not find a way to get to another school, I'm sure they would have freed up a scholarship for a top 30 player in the nation. This young man is somebody that many folks are after, including, like you said, the Texas and Bamas of the world, who did make the tournament, who did make the Sweet 16, Elite Eights, and all that. And yet he picked the pack. Will Wade's just getting started, okay? He's just getting started. He's just now doing the when you grate out your garlic before you put it in a dish. He's just doing that. He's not even cooking yet, for real. He's just doing that, and we're already seeing major results here. I have never been more excited for the start of a college basketball season. I literally have never been in my life.
And I think you speak for just about all of us. I've seen a lot of people say, I love football, but I don't think I've ever been, having this much anticipation for a basketball season to begin. Cannot wait to see the reckoning actually come to life. I saw a couple quotes from Matthew Abel saying that something that really stuck out with Will Wade was his vision for me and his vision for this program. That vision is a systematic blueprint that he's going to check off one by one by one and you're going to see NC State become a real player in the landscape of college basketball. Matthew Abel, welcome to Raleigh. We're so happy to have the fourth highest, I can't believe I'm still saying this, the fourth highest recruit in NC State history. The first of hopefully many. More basketball news coming up here next. Andrew Slater is now officially the GM of NC State basketball. We'll tell you a little bit about who he is and what this means after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is TurboTax. Taxes used to be waiting, wondering, and worrying if you were ever going to get any money back. And then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives you your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your own day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible, file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All of this so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, and no worries. Now this is taxes. Get an expert today at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Middle portion of our Monday show, sticking on the topic of fantastic news coming out for NC State basketball out of the weekend. Andrew Slater is now officially named the GM of NC State basketball. We've all kind of known about this for a couple weeks now, but it hadn't been quite made officially official. It is now officially official. And I was reading through this article from Pack Pride. He will also be considered an assistant coach on the staff. So he's kind of dual wielding here. He's an assistant coach who gets to travel and recruit out on the road, which that's a big piece of why they are doing that instead of him just being the GM. And he's also the general manager. So quick background about Andrew Slater. He's a little bit of a ghost, and that makes him perhaps the most interesting man in Raleigh. His most recent stop has been a scout with the Oklahoma City Thunder of the NBA. Before that, he was perhaps the most well-connected man in the AAU ranks in high school basketball, the prep level of basketball, showcase high school basketball, college recruiting. So if you know the name Joe Tipton currently works for On3. He's the guy that always tweets out like the breaking news, such and such has transferred to such and such school with a graphic on it. He's a graphic design guy. Andrew Slater was basically Joe Tipton before Joe Tipton was Joe Tipton. Andrew Slater was like the OG, like college announcement guy for recruiting. He is perhaps the most well-connected man in all of college basketball. And that is actually not hyperbole. He knows everybody. He knows all the players, all the coaches, the assistant coaches. For those of you that have seen The Dark Knight, Lucius Fox with Morgan Freeman and Christian Bale obviously is that version of Batman. If you remember the scene where Lucius Fox is in this like the dark room where he has all the equipment and there's like a million TV screens and he can see everything that Batman is seeing or hearing, that's Andrew Slater. He sees everything. He knows everything that's going on in high school basketball, college basketball, the transfer portal. He knows about all of it. So much so that, as I've previously referenced, people thought that he could be Truly Donovan. Truly Donovan is like the most famous college basketball burner because he's always giving out information right before it goes public. That's how well-connected Andrew Slater is. And he's previously had run-ins with Will Wade. They have a very good relationship. And that is the reason that Andrew Slater was handpicked by Will Wade to come join him in Raleigh and be the GM. When you first saw rumors of this a couple weeks ago, what you instantly saw is all the national heads were like, Will Wade and Andrew Slater, that will be a nightmare for everyone in the ACC and on a national level of college basketball. These two are Kobe and Shaq. They're Batman and Robin. They are any dangerous combination of two people that you can get, and probably then some. When Will Wade talks about a reckoning and then he hires Andrew Slater, it's a bigger deal than a lot of us can even realize.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to learn some reckoning. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. By the way, fun fact about Andrew Slater. Does anybody know what this guy looks like?
This is the funny part. He's like a ghost. Nobody really knows anything about him.
Anybody ever heard his voice? Can anybody pin down if he was speaking to you, if he was standing in front of you at Penn Station, it was like, hey, can I get a chicken cheesesteak? Would you know that he was in front of you? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Why is that important, right? Being good at your job is one thing. What this job calls for in terms of being the GM, being that person that identifies and helps fill gaps on the team, being the person that stays one step ahead of the game in terms of recruiting, both in the transfer portal and in high school, that calls for and requires a certain level of like, I'm not the story. I'm not the showman.
Yep.
I'm not going to be a guy that's everywhere grandstanding and you hear my name and all that. I'm just going to be that guy that just, you're just looking around like, wait, was that just Andrew Slater? And then it's like, oh, it's too late. He was already here. Your player's gone, buddy. Oh, he was already here. That high schooler that was undecided. Oh, man, he's going to be wearing some red and white. But in all seriousness, the connections are one thing. The, kind of the mysterious allure or aura, as the kids say around this young man, is a big deal. But again, at the end of the day, Andrew Slater will positively impact winning. This is a fact. This is why all of the national heads who study and who are deeply involved with college basketball are like, wait, him and Will Wade? Oh boy. This is going to be trouble for everyone around them. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. Because if we look historically at many of NC State's hires in the past, have they been met with the same reception? Ever?
No. I
remember the news around the Keats hiring. Everybody's like, oh, he's a good guy. He's won ball games everywhere he's been. He's a good guy. He'll steer that program in the right direction. I remember the news around Doran's hiring because I had to look that up as part of like, do I want to go to NC State? And it was like, oh yeah, he's won games. He's an up and comer. He could be the new hot thing in coaching in a couple of years. Like that's the level that he's at. So I look at that and I say, I have not seen anybody be like, oh, this is it in the same way that I have people talking about Wade and Slater. So I am excited to see what Mr. Slater does. Everybody and their mamas got their eyes on NC State. What's going on over there? What they doing over there in Raleigh? What's all that movement over there? And it's a great time.
You're going to start to hear the shuffling of feet from other schools, and not just in the ACC, but again, on a national level. And I remember, I think it was a Trilly Donovan. It was either a tweet or a post in like a message board. And he said, quote, Andrew Slater and Will Wade are going to ruin somebody's day. And I can't wait to see who it is first, unquote. That's what's coming. Kenton just mentioned Andrew Slater is going to impact winning. I'd venture to guess that Matthew Abel is very much connected to Andrew Slater now being on staff. But then you factor in him working for the OKC Thunder. If you're a fan of the NBA, then you already know this. The Thunder are the number one team in the league right now. They're like 64-13. They've been crushing it in terms of the scouting ranks and, drafting the right players, getting the right amount of draft picks, and they're trading. A lot of that has had Andrew Slater's hands all over it. And now you're bringing that to the college basketball level where he knows all the top talents at that level that may even like skip college and go to the league. On some level, the hiring of Andrew Slater is possibly like more important, if not at the same magnitude as Will Wade is. Like that's how dangerous of a man that Andrew Slater is. This is like hitting grand slams in back-to-back innings with Will Wade and Andrew Slater. This is a massive, monumental hire. And we've talked a lot about how the hiring of Will Wade kind of reflects the administration's hunger to be better and more consistent. Hiring Andrew Slater is another one of those examples. This is NC State getting real serious, real quick about being loud and winning big. It's coming. These two are going to wreak havoc on college basketball. And again, Matthew Abel, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Just wait until these two actually get cooking together. You're going to see some special times in Raleigh, North Carolina. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Monday show, recapping what in the world happened to Duke basketball on Saturday night, and we'll give you our national championship picks. It's the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where the heck did all my money go? Between dining out, shopping online, and entertainment, sometimes it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes into play. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop managing your money and start building your wealth. Managing money with a partner is also now smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly and money like the money. monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for half off of your first year, only at Monarch Money. Last couple minutes of our Monday show. Wanted to talk a little bit about the Final Four, and obviously Kenton's also the co-host of Locked On ACC. Duke, who is in the ACC, had a shocking loss on Saturday night. They had as big as I think a 14-point lead with 8 minutes left. I think they had only one field goal in the last 10 minutes of the game. Duke crumbles late. Houston moves on. So Kenton, as an ACC guy, how significant of a embarrassing loss is this for Duke? What does it mean for the ACC? What kind of sympathy should NC State fans have for Duke, if any at all? Perfect reaction. That's my reaction.
NC State fans, I need y'all to come in close when I say this, because I don't want everybody to hear this. This is just between us, okay? That was the best outcome possible for NC State.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you're going to recruit against a Duke, how hard do you think it is to recruit against a Duke coming off a national championship?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand, how hard do you think it is to recruit against a Duke team that had a historic, and when I say historic, I mean historic meltdown on multiple levels? They were the first team in NCAA tournament history to have a higher field goal percentage, more field goal attempts, less turnovers, more rebounds than the team, and still lose the game. You know what the knock on John Shire is? He can't win the big one. You know, they said that Will Wade will slit your throat to get a player. Well, if somebody's going to open their neck up to you, they're going to say, hey, right here, buddy. You know what I mean? You got to do what you got to do. I am telling you all right now, the number one pick in the draft, the guy that's, and two other lottery guys, right? How do you tell people oh, we just couldn't score? We just couldn't. They were just a great defense. A 7-footer that is going top 15 in the draft, not having a single rebound all night. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is, again, I don't even dislike Duke, and I very genuinely mean it. I have no smoke or problems with Duke. Some of their football fans, the three that exist, are pretty annoying. But other than that, I really don't have a problem with Duke. But this game here, optimal outcome for NC State. So, I mean, hey, I do feel bad for them. From an ACC perspective, yes, it is a bad look for the conference.
Yeah.
But again, as an NC State alum, shucks.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Of course, I was rooting for Duke to lose that game, not just because I maybe wagered on Houston. I don't know. But no, it was a great game. And I think it kind of redeems the lack of some excitement of the rest of the tournament because it was relatively chalky. But the way that Duke lost that game late, again, they had one field goal in the last 10 minutes of the game. Don't let anyone tell you that the somewhat phantom foul on Cooper Flagg is the reason they lost. No, you hit one shot in the last 10 minutes of the game. That is why you lost. And so I wasn't sad to see Duke lose. Something else I actually thought was very funny, Carolina fans were acting like they had actually won the game, like they were participating in it. And they were basically doing the exact same thing that they accused Wolfpack fans of doing when the Dirty Foot Club loses. So again, the hypocrisy is crazy, but it was very delicious for the rest of us in red and white. Don't care if they lost. Cooper Flagg, see. For the ACC as a whole, though, I really don't think it hurts the brand that much because the ACC is the only conference to send a team to the Final Four in the last 5 consecutive years. That's a great mark that we should continue to hang our hat on. NC State fans rooting for Duke, I don't know. I mean, on some levels, I get it because there's times I don't mind Duke as much, but don't mince my words. I wanted to see Duke lose, and we got perhaps the most soul-crushing loss we could have seen. So that leads us into the national championship for men's college basketball. The Florida Gators, the Houston Cougars. Kenton, how do you see this thing going down on Monday evening?
It's Samson's time. Give me the Cougs. I look at those guys and I say their brand of defense is smothering and all that good stuff. But more so than anything else, they're an experienced team that just keeps chopping wood and carrying water. They get down, still going to chop wood, still going to carry water. They're up a little bit, still going to chop wood, still going to carry water. They don't take their foot off the gas. That Florida team, they're a team that they – spurts, there are stretches where like you think that you got them out of the game, and then they just like, oh, you take your foot off the gas for half a second, and you look up and you're like, what just happened? The problem is Houston doesn't take their foot off the gas. They may not be mashing it to 100 the entire game, but they're going to drive. It's like that old guy in your family, like your granddad, or that smooth uncle you got. He always drives the same speed limit. Nobody's going to speed him up. Nobody's going, people might hunk out in the traffic. Hey, we all gonna get to where we gotta go on time and safe, and that's what Houston is. They drive that car and just keep it going at their speed. I think that they'll win the game because they'll get Florida to play their game.
We're actually a sweep on this one, and I know that's a little contradictory because I picked Florida in my bracket to win the national championship. For the entirety of the season, I have thought Florida's the most complete and talented team, but there's something about Houston. When you come off of a crazy win like that one, and you're the best defensive team in the country, I think that exactly to Kenton's point, they're going to get Florida to play into Houston's hands, and the Cougars are going to come out victorious. I also think it's cool to see Houston return to this level of college basketball because we have our own history with them back in '83, but Houston's not exactly a team that's going to be a superpower in college basketball, and it's nice to kind of break up, the blue bloods seemingly winning it every year because Houston is not that. So selfishly, and I mean, Florida's not a blue blood, but you get my point here. I would like to see a relatively smaller marketed team in Houston come out on top, and I think they're going to do it. I think it should be a fantastic game. I'll be interested to see how many points get scored in this because Florida can either score 100 on you. Sometimes Houston can hold you to like 58. So I don't know. I really don't know what to do with for that total. I'll probably leave it alone. Should be a fantastic game, fantastic way to cap off the college basketball season. And again, this is where Will Wade and Andrew Slater are really about to get cooking. Watch them work. You're going to be shocked at the way the NC State's going to turn this thing around in a very short amount of time. That will do it for us here on Monday. Tuesday, we're going to focus more on football because we did have two very important commitments on that front as well over the weekend. So Tuesday will be a football day. Thank you all for joining us here on Monday. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see y'all tomorrow for more, and until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.